Yes, the Twins are being picked by just about everyone to repeat as AL Central champions. Yes, Dave Brown and I both contend that the Twins are underrated despite this. And yes, we plan to talk about this in the most recent episode and ran out of time. So we're going to do that today. This is Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again, and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warren. You can unfollow me on Twitter at Brandon_WARNE. And joining me as he is wont to do, Mr. Dave Brown at Answer Dave Brown on the tweets. How are we doing?
I do want to. I'm very good, Brandon. I'm happy to join you again.
Well, it's the pleasure is all mine. I'm quite sure of it. But thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. Not just you, Dave Brown, but everybody listening as well. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Also, YouTube. We love hanging out with you on YouTube. We try to do our premiere at 11 o'clock Central most nights. So if you're a bit of a night owl, we have you covered. Or first thing in the morning, we've got you covered as well. So good stuff there. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel. New customers join today and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And also a fun one. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. And we also have a Locked On Minnesota channel to check out. Got a lot of great Locked On shows. Seth Topol with Locked On Wild, Ben Beacon with Locked On Wolves, and of course, Luke Braun with Locked On Vikings. Great dude. Brilliant dude. Definitely check that out when you're not watching us. Now, Dave, we had initially intended to, about 24 hours ago, do a show about how you and I both, despite the fact that almost everyone has them predicted to win the division, that we both think the Twins are being slept on a little bit. I have said that to a few people who did not respond in kind. Now, again, there's probably some Tiger fans, some Guardians fans, and whatever. But foundationally, when you say this, or when I say this, I'm saying the Twins have a first line of defense and a second line of defense, and in some positions, a third line of defense for whether it's injury, whether it's guys taking a step back, or some combination of the two, like it was, like let's say last year with Jose Miranda. They're in a spot where they can kind of overwhelm you with their depth, and it almost applies at really every level of the team.
I was looking at something. I was looking for reasons why maybe some people still fade the Twins, and then reasons why they're maybe better than you think. And I was looking at, you talk about the depth, I was looking at the plate appearances that the guys who are slated to get bench duty this year got last year.
Mm-hmm.
I see Christian Vasquez, 355 plate appearances. Kyle Farmer, 369. Willie Castro, 409. Manuel Margot, not quite relevant, 336, right. Whatever. I don't think there's any way that Vasquez, well, there's a way if people get hurt. But Vasquez, Farmer, Castro are not probably, hopefully, for the Twins' sake, getting that many plate appearances this year. It's the starting lineup is much better than it was last year, and yet these aren't bad players. These are guys that you really want on the bench. I think as possible moves for Rocco, and they're good complementary players. And I think it's the first thing that caught my eye, that these bench players are. They're going to come off the bench more this year than they did last year, and knock on wood, everybody healthy. And I think that's one of the first things that comes to mind as to why I think the Twins will be better than they were a year ago.
The nice thing is, too, that they have a lot of individual skill sets that complement each other nicely. Like Kyle Farmer can pinch hit for Matt Wallner against a lefty, and then he could go in and play, hypothetically, he could play first base if Alex Kirilloff went to the outfield. Now, Kirilloff, not much of an outfielder anymore, but again, the idea that all these moving parts can kind of come together and be, again, just as good as moving parts can be when placed in positions to succeed. And I think the other nice thing is that because Rocco uses his bench so judiciously, is that players like Kyle Farmer don't sit for spans of days or whatever and grow discontent with their roles. And so I think there is like kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy of keep everybody engaged, keep everybody in the game, and you will be in better shape because of it, because you'll have happier players, you'll have more productive players, and you'll have a guy you can throw out there as a pinch runner and then have a defensive replacement to replace that guy. Like in any situation, it's going to be very hard for the Twins to be quote unquote shorthanded. And that's true not only on the in-game side, but having St. Paul as close as they are. I mean, the infrastructure here for a very solid organizational foundation is it's almost perfect, if we can be really honest.
It's a short tram ride, or does the light rail connect St. Paul and Minneapolis? Or
yeah, I think it's the blue line that you take that way. It take you through University of Minnesota and then over toward Lower Town where the Saints play at CHS Field. Never been to CHS Field yet. Gonna have to do that because it sounds quite nice. But they film a lot of commercials there.
Oh, well, it must be a happening part of town. I did like that the Gophers had the little Metrodome replica inside of U.S. Bank Stadium. That looked really cool. I kind of wish I had gotten a chance to see it, but it's nice to have your own home. Mm-hmm. But so, there's that. And also, I just look at the top of the lineup, basically, the first 5 guys or so. Yep. And I get excited about what Edouard Julien, a healthy Byron Buxton, Royce Lewis, and a healthy, again, Carlos Correa, and then Kepler after his second half last year. That's gangbusters. That's Ghostbusters. It's blockbusters. There's a lot of busting going on, a lot of busting.
Mindbusters.
Yes, Mythbusters.
Yep.
And, Carlos Santana still in spots, especially against left-handed pitching, will be a dangerous hitter. Matt Wallner, we think, in his first full season will be good. And if he's not, they have people in the minor leagues to come up. Ryan Jeffers looking like he's putting it all together. Kirilloff, we're kind of waiting for that Wallner second half burst from him. Hopefully his wrist is fine and he's in the right place. I like the lineup. I like the superstar power at the top of the lineup. I like the depth, and that's just half the team. These are reasons why I'm excited about the Twins.
Well, and the nice thing is there's all these contingency plans built in where if Edouard Julien lags a little bit, Carlos Santana has good enough plate discipline to bat leadoff. And when you take the fact that he's not, really popping the ball as much, like he'll hit his homers, but he's not going to slug that much higher than 400 probably.
Right.
The on base becomes a more useful tool atop the order. If you're not going to be driving the ball, get on base for other guys to do it. And
you can put Correa at the top too.
Sure. Or they've had Kepler hit that there before when Polanco was dealing with some stuff. And so they've got options. I mean, there's not a player that there'll be players who hit 9th some days where you'll be like, oh man, there's Twins teams this guy would have hit 5th for, 6th for not that long ago. And so it's hard not to be enthused. And again, I know like we've beaten it to death. We banged the drum nonstop that they could have used and still could use a good number 2 starter. But the way they plan to recreate those innings in the aggregate should work. I mean, theoretically, it should be feasible.
Well, I mean, we still have some questions and we have some concerns with Disco Sclafani at the end of the rotation, and Paddock has looked resurgent.
Yeah.
Ober has been like the best pitcher in the Grapefruit League, and Lopez and Ryan. I expect them to continue to excel like they did last year. Ryan up to a point when he got the injury that he didn't disclose. I think those guys are pretty good to lead the rotation. I think there is still time in the season and possibly a need to go out and get somebody from the trade farm when we get to the deadline. And we'll see how everyone else is shaken out, and we'll see how Louis Varland looks, and some of the other players that have looked pretty good so far in spring training that we're kind of excited about. Simeon Woods Richardson for one, and there's Matt Canarino looked terrific in his re-debut. So there's a lot of depth. There's more. There's good depth in the on the bench for the hitters, but there's even more depth with some decent arms in the bullpen or guys coming up from St. Paul if need be. It's there's plenty of flaws on the Twins. I don't want to sound like I'm blowing smoke, but I'm Joe Optimist right now. Not Joe Mauer though. That's somebody else.
You said trade farm. I'm trying to decide between a Kyle Farmer joke or an arm barn joke, but I think I'll just skip both and go with, hey, let's talk about FanDuel. When we come back, I want to talk about depth, and more depth. But again, some love for FanDuel. You can get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And you know who wasn't getting buckets today, Dave Brown? The Minnesota Timberwolves.
Oh, no.
Their team scored 100 points in today's game as they lost to the Clippers. And Clippers are good. Don't get me wrong. It's not a shameful loss or anything like that. But if you had put down $5 on the Wolves today, you would not be eligible for new customers getting $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. But again, there's plenty of ways to get involved. You can bet on quick bets, live same game parlays, exclusive props, any number of things that you can imagine. You got to go check out the app or go to FanDuel.com and check it out because, again, like I've said multiple times now, there's so many options that I can't lay them all out in a way that will keep you engaged and listening to us, in addition to the fact that I just don't know all of them. It's so many of them. So, again, go check it out, FanDuel.com/lockedon, and shoot your shot. New customers, again, $150 in basically free play with a winning $5 bet. It's the biggest no-brainer in the history of mankind. So again, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official partner of the NBA. All right, Dave, we are back. We're ready to head into the bullpen here. And one thing I want to bring up is kind of this multifaceted way that I think the Twins are the best team in this division. A lot of people, it's become kind of popular to do like those baseball reference comparison graphics, where it's like, oh, this guy had 50 WAR in 5 years, and this guy had 300 WAR in 10 or 20 years. Who's better? And it's like dumb. It's just dumb. And nobody had 300 WAR. I get that. But when I look at like the Twins starting lineup against every other team in the division, I'm like, yeah, taking the Twins. When I look at the bench, yeah, I'm taking the Twins. When I'm looking at contingency plans, if a guy like Trevor Larnach, for instance, Cleveland would kill for a guy like Trevor Larnach, would they not?
Well, I mean, they've let some people go who are, apparently viable outfielders, and the Guardians, even when they went to the World Series, they were like an outfielder short.
Rajai Davis.
Right. And he did save their bacon in Game 7 for a while. But
Cleveland bacon sounds gross, though.
It sounds like an offensive lineman for the St. Louis Cardinals in 1985. Cleveland bacon.
Or like, it sounds disgusting. It sounds like a
St. Louis football Cardinal that Dan Dierdorf would say.
I love it. But anyway, yeah, I think Cleveland has been an outfielder short. Nolan Jones, obviously.
Will Benson, too.
Will Benson, who got traded for the guy that the Twins traded for Tyler Mahle in, I think it was Steve Hajar, who is now not even in the top 30 on the Guardians' top prospect list. Again, it's a fairly solid farm system, but he went and walked everybody, and he's just off the radar now. And Will Benson, meanwhile, had like a 2-win season last year, and he looks terrific. The Reds really do have a fun bunch of young hitters, and he's squarely a part of that. Meanwhile, we're into year number whatever of what infielder is going to play left field, or you know what I mean. So, how much playing time will Miles Straw get?
Is Miles Straw going to get to 3 home runs or 4?
It depends on if he gets 300 plate appearances or 400, I guess.
The Guardians do have, you're talking about comparing the other teams to, the certain departments and where the Twins have advantages. I could see, if you want to talk about how the gap could close a little bit, if the Guardians get a lot of, if they have some luck with their pitching that they didn't have health-wise last year, Tristan McKenzie bounces back. I was just about to call him Justin Bieber. Shane Bieber throwing really hard in recent start.
Wait, so is it Justin Bieber and then the old San Francisco Giants pitcher was Taylor Swift instead of Billy Swift?
Did I do that?
No. I'm just saying we gotta be consistent. We gotta stick to it. You gotta lean into, if you're gonna mess things up, you gotta make a real mess of them.
Right. So I could see where the Guardians might have by the end a leg up on the Twins in that regard. Although they're talking about, they didn't really participate in free agency this year, and
they opted out. Like what?
They opted out. They went right to the. I don't want to start coughing again.
Is it Antonetti though?
Yeah,
he just clicked unsubscribe on all the free agency emails, unplugged the fax machine, and said, "See ya in Goodyear," or wherever they train.
It is, yeah. Is it Chris Antonetti? Did he go?
I think it's Chris Antonetti, right?
Did he go to the Blue Jays?
JP Ricciardi or Riccardi has a podcast now, so there are some former Blue Jays doing things, but I think Antonetti's still the guy.
Yeah, he is. I was thinking of some
Shapiro.
Shapiro, that's right. His boss. At one time.
Of Moneyball fame.
Yes. And I had another point in there. Yeah, and they've talked about dealing their closer, and I always hear the list of things that and Bieber was like going to be traded last year, but his elbow was barking, so they couldn't really do it.
He's basically Giolito a year later, possibly.
Maybe. I think he's the finished product of Bieber, the healthy finished product, is put together more than Gio was. So
yeah, we don't know if that exists with Giolito anymore.
True.
We have at least some reason to believe it does with Bieber.
True. And he's Giolito ended the season with like 4 teams last year, but he's now on the Red Sox, so he's not. The Guardians had him for about 48 hours, and it didn't work out.
What a weird, wild time.
It was, and it maybe will happen again with the way the trade deadline is. But
yeah.
So if you want to talk about, well, maybe why would the Twins come back to the pack a little bit, or the pack come to them? Maybe everything works out with the Guardians pitching, and they pull some reverse Will Bensons and get some outfielders.
Oh, maybe like Chase DeLauder, or if Kyle Manzardo works out.
Yeah, I think he will. He probably will. He's not really an outfielder, though. So
no, I just mean they need offensive help, kind of
do.
Outside of Jose Ramirez.
They do. So
we'll see what the Naylor brothers can do. But yeah, it's an offense that really isn't on the level with the Twins, and that's before considering how you compare pitching staffs and then depth. Like the one team that stands out to me in the depth regard is, like, even when the White Sox were good, they were never deep. Like, never, ever, ever did they have, it was like, we're going to use Lurie Garcia to paper over any deficiencies we have. Or who was the infielder?
Danny Mendick.
No. Like, it was like their Eduardo Escobar, Yolmer Sanchez.
Like, Gold Glove winner.
Yeah, he could play. In fact, I thought he might have made sense for the Twins when he hit free agency. I don't remember if he was a free agent or if they non-tendered him to make him a free agent, but he's done really nothing since. But it's just always been like that. And then like forcing guys like Gavin Sheets and Andrew Vaughn into right field. And it's just like, you got to have more depth than that. And they just have not been able to do it.
This week at spring training, the White Sox kind of did a reverse. They're trying Oscar Colas at first base. So they're moving him from right field to first base. It's kind of like a merry-go-round. There's got to be a better analogy, but that's sort of what it is. Vaughn used to be in right field, and Sheets is an outfielder, but probably shouldn't be out there. But
yeah, okay, that's fair. I should have said that.
No, it's true. But and now Colas is he played a little bit of first base in Japan, and I don't know if any of these guys are going to hit well enough. Vaughn is maybe it's malpractice on the part of the team to not have developed him more. He should probably be a better hitter than he is. I'm not sure if the other guys have the talent or not, but the White Sox, yeah, they don't have any depth and they don't really have any interest in competing right now. So they're not. I don't expect them to be trouble.
But I mean, even at their best, it was like, he talked to, I know he goes by Nick BPSS on Twitter. I can't remember his last name.
Yeah,
but
I know that handle.
Yeah, he was just harped on their lack of depth for a long time now. And then somebody posted today the standings for the AL Central since, I think it was 2020. It might have been 2019. Yeah. But he quoted it with the window, LOL, and it was supposed to be the competitive window for the White Sox, which resulted in, what was that? They went to the playoffs in 2020, and that was it?
No, they won 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
They kind of pooped out at the end of 2021, and that was the year they lost to the Astros. And, hey, Lurie Garcia hit a big home run and won a game for them in that series, I think.
Hey, I can't talk crap about him then.
In 2020, they went to the playoffs and lost to the A's in 5 games, I think.
Yeah, the Twins lost to the Astros, and then
it was one of those windows like people have in their bathroom where the glass is really thick and you can't see through it, but you can get some light in there. So it was one of those playoff windows,
like a frosted glass, kind of.
Yeah, but not as nice for a beer.
True. Let's take a quick second, talk about our friends at Gametime. We'll come home and wrap this up with why we think the Twins are being slept on. And if you, like me, Dave Brown, are looking for tickets, Gametime is the place to go.
I do like
it. Nicely done. We're really leading into this dad joke episode that has been requested formally on the.
We can lean harder.
Yeah, right. Exactly. If you have time to lean, you have time to clean. That's what my stepdad used to say to me all the time when I was not doing anything at the grocery store. But I digress. Gametime. Go to the Gametime app. You're looking for tickets. You're looking for a way to get into a playoff game, a concert, a show, you name it. You can find it here in your market. You just pull up for me, Minneapolis, St. Paul, for you, KCMO, and look at what is going on. And it doesn't always have to be something crazy big. If you want a small concert at an intimate venue like First Ave here in town or any number of places around the city, that's your place to go. And you can get tickets with a couple quick taps. You'll know exactly what you're going to spend. You're going to know where you're going to sit and what it looks like. They take all of the guesswork out of it, make it super duper easy. And besides that, they give you a good deal besides. With the Gametime guarantee, you'll always get the best price. So if you find tickets in the same section and row elsewhere for less, Gametime won't only credit you the difference, but 110% of the difference. You're always given 110%. Now you can get 110%, Dave Brown.
It's about time.
Absolutely perfect. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON for $20 off. Or you can go to gametime.co. So gametime.co. But the app, way, way easier, way better to use. So download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, slowest price guaranteed. So, Dave, yeah, it's a team still that we both see in a very, very positive light. And it's not exactly earth-shattering, but I think you bringing the heat before me bringing the heat should carry some weight because you don't have, like, again, I believe myself to be as unbiased as I possibly can, but you don't have any reason to be biased, like none whatsoever. And you are effusive in your praise of this team. Again, not to say again, that they couldn't have added another starter or that they still might not. The Giants said now they're not adding a starter. So at some point, Jordan Montgomery has to find a home. At some point, all these guys, Michael Lorenzen. Oh, and by the way, Blake Snell, they have to find a home. So maybe the Twins do eventually get involved. I'm skeptical, but with the way this team looks right now, if they don't win the division, it has to be considered I don't know what kind of upset I'd call it. Soviets versus USA in 1980, maybe not quite that, but it would be a pretty big upset if anybody else wins this division.
Well, there is a key player on the Twins named Kirilov, so maybe there is some kind of Soviet thing going on there. I'm not sure. I don't want to put that on him. But it's I was thinking about some of the things that could go wrong because, that's how you do it in Minnesota, I think. Yep. That's how probably a lot of fans do it.
The Wolves lost today to a very good team at home, and it's already like, well, can't win in the playoffs if you can't beat the Clippers. Like,
right.
The Thunder lost to the Spurs like 2 days ago.
Right.
It can happen. The regular season is funny. Baseball is like if the Twins play the Dodgers in the World Series 100 times and the Twins win 40 times and the Dodgers win 60, those 40 times don't mean the Twins shouldn't spend money. It doesn't mean that spending money is bad. It just means that's the game of baseball. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that. Is like you can build the best team money can buy and you still might lose. It literally is the entire 20 teens as a decade. The Dodgers were the best team by record and didn't win a stinking thing. And I think we lose sight of that.
Yeah, it had been since 1988.
Yeah,
that they had won, and that '88 team. We're not talking about they got hot at the right time, and they certainly deserved to win. But
they're good, but not like life. Like
that wasn't one of the great teams in history by any means. And that's not what you just want to give yourself a chance. Mm-hmm. And I think really the worst case scenario for the Twins is something like last year, where certain things go wrong, people aren't healthy, regression occurs, people fall short, and they win 85, 86 games. I still don't see anybody doing better than that. But go back to this. The thing that I like about the position that they're in is that they did all that good stuff last year, especially at the end of the season. And they had so many things go wrong or not quite as right as they could. And I think the superstars at the top of the lineup, really solid pitching. I expect Joe Ryan to have a full season of first half Joe Ryan. And just depth coming out of the wazoo in the bullpen. And they have one thing that they definitely have over lots of other teams in their division and the American League and overall is that if some of these guys, third, fourth starters, second, third relief pitchers, if they get hurt or they're out for a certain time or they struggle, there's someone else to come in and take their place. They have, I would get, I don't know if I could afford Twin season tickets right now, but I could afford St. Paul Saints tickets. There's going to be some great players on St. Paul. That's going to be a fun team too. And, I know that team over history has been kind of run in a fun way. It sounds like they're going to have a great team this year too, in addition to the circuses that they have.
Yeah. My old college baseball coach used to say that he went to I don't remember what he said. I went to a circus or a carnival and a baseball game broke out or something like that. Yeah. That was how he phrased it. Always fun for baseball junkies like me though, because you watch them play like the Sioux City Explorers or whatever, and Renee Tassoni's batting cleanup, and I watched them play the Twins back in like 2011, so 2012. That's just kind of my thing. Yeah, I think I was gonna say, I think the Saints are gonna be a terrific AAA team. Now, will they be better than the present day Oakland A's? I'm not saying anything like that, but it's going to be entertaining baseball over in Lower Town as well. The Twins are they're in such a good spot. We've seen things go wrong, though. It doesn't mean they can't or won't go wrong. But I cannot say enough about how good this Twins team lines up for me. And you have kind of shed light on that for me. Like, I was optimistic, but to hear you kind of like the way you put it as a distant observer, someone from 40,000 feet or whatever the saying is, that really drives it home for me. Like, railroad spike. This is a very, very good team who should do some really big things.
40,000 feet. I hope we land soon. That's all I have to say about that. If I'm that high, I would like to land. My ears are popping. So I'm glad to have that point of view, but let's get on the ground.
Yeah, no question about it. Well, we may actually finish well ahead of our time for once, but
a whole minute.
What's that?
A whole minute early.
Yeah, I can't emphasize enough, though. I'm eagerly anticipating this season. And if they add another pitcher, even if it's Michael Lorenzen, I mean, it's going to add to that excitement level because more depth is good.
That's right. That goes on a t-shirt. It's not really a good slogan, but more depth is good. I like it. That's good for the bench guys.
Yeah. Well, that's all we have for this edition of Locked On Twins. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back again in about, 24 hours to talk to you about, who knows, hopefully some good things. But for now, we'll take a 23 and a half hour reprieve, and we'll see you tomorrow night.